Round one is finally over, which means we can finally review it. That and more right here on the Milkman Podcast. Welcome back to the Milkman Podcast. My name is Mitch Roberts, and it's done. It's finally done. Round one, after 2 weeks, we're there. We're home and hosed. And here on this Team List Tuesday, very late at night, it's 8 o'clock at night, and this will be coming to you very, very shortly, is actually, hopefully, barring any mishaps or anything, hopefully is my debut on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. That's right, we have finally made it. You know how hard it is to make an Apple account? It's not fun, but we've done it nonetheless. And but anyway, let's move on. And you probably noticed this. New jersey came in the mail today. I'm very excited. 2001 remake. I know it's a remake. I don't care. I love it. I think it's cool. It's missing the Puma right here, and it's missing a NRL thing on the collar. I think it is, but you know what? It's cool. The only problem I really have with it is the Oz email on the back. I would show you, but the chair makes too much noise. Way too big. If you want to see it, go check it out. I got it from Jersey Superstore, I think. Could be wrong. I think it was there. But anyway, moving straight ahead. And again, I ended the last episode like this, I think, but I definitely touched on it last episode. I want to thank the community again. It's just been a ride these past few days and just been all over the shop, and I'm very grateful. I really am for this great community, especially to the Green Machine Pod and JB over there. They've really helped me out over the past couple of days. So to them and everyone watching and everyone following on Instagram and Twitter at Milkman Podcast, thank you very much. Anyone listening on Spotify or Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, thank you. And if I am being quiet, it's just because there's people asleep. Don't want to be too loud, but we get into this. I said what I said last week. We're going to get into this. So let's get straight into the milk bar. Let's chuck some milk. Let's get into it. So the Jersey Flag and New South Wales Cup review, I do have that down there, but I feel like I wanted to put this in the milk bar today just because it's a little bland. So let's get this up. Should have had this prepared. I apologise. The Jersey Flag boys absolutely demolished the New Zealand Warriors this weekend with a 50-4 beatdown over the Wars and at Leichhardt. And I didn't watch it. I wish I did. I'm still trying to figure out that bar TV thing. I'm still trying to figure all that out. So bear with me. This time next week, I will have watched the New South Wales Cup and the Jersey Flag games. But if we go through, it's not showing me who scored tries. That's great, isn't it? Fantastic. There was a lot of them. I mean, it was 50-4. Don't know what else you want me to say. There was a lot of tries, and it was a beatdown. The New South Wales Cup boys unfortunately didn't get as lucky. 16-18 for those boys, and close one, lost in a close one, which, went 2 for 3 on the weekend. So just like I did on Milkman Tips, which we'll get to later. Stay tuned for that tomorrow, but again, we'll get into that later. The team list for this weekend, post made on Milkman Podcast, at Milkman Podcast on Instagram and Twitter, of course. If we look at the team list, I've got it here. I can't really see it on there because I'm split screening at the moment with my script. The team list is in. KO Weeks is starting at 1. Tamale, Tomoko, Chris, Hopwade, Strange, Fogarty's taking the captain's band. Papali'i, Starling, Horsburgh, Young, Hosking and Smithies is the blokes that will start as of right now. Obviously, it's all subject to change. Paddy Sasagi Nicholson making his debut, and Mari Ota is rounding out the interchange. And great news if you are a Hopewade fan, he's starting on the wing, so that'll be very, very entertaining to watch. He's obviously taking the place of Xavier Savage this weekend, and Smithy's taking the place of Tarpany, both being found guilty at the judiciary and handed out bans. And then obviously the emergencies at the moment looks like it's going to be Danny Levi, Trey Mooney, Chevy Stewart, Michael Asumua, and Ethan Sanders. So a pretty decent list. I don't know if this is a strong enough list to go to the Brisbane Broncos, but it's what we got. And from what I saw against the Wales, this team can beat the Broncos, but, and we'll get into the game later, what I saw from the Broncos against the Roosters, they can definitely handle a team like this. But we'll see. It's at home. That's the main thing. It's at home, so we've got a chance. I'm not too worried about it, although I probably should be. So that's the team. Yesterday, I posted, or it was found that Jaden Brayley were close to signing Knights hooker Jaden Brayley, and negotiations were reportedly in final stages. Today, however, it is reported that he has signed a 2-year contract with the Raiders starting next year. So it's all happening. He must have really liked what he saw from us. He must have really liked our deal that we were giving him. Makes me concerned, though. Like I said in episode 1 of this podcast, I am a big Tom Starling fan. So does this mean we are replacing him? I really hope not. But does this mean that he's going to be the one coming off the bench? But what does that mean for Owen Paddy? So it's going to be really, really strange thing to get around. Obviously, Owen Paddy is very young still. So if this 2-year deal ends and we go, all right, thanks, mate, thanks for coming, really enjoyed your help, and then Owen Paddy comes in his place, or if we just flick off Tom Starling, which, again, I really don't hope happens because I love the guy. I love Tom Starling with everything I have. Like, he's my favourite player. Like I'd say Zach Hosking is, Tom Starling is. And it's not really close either. Like, I love Tom Starling. So we just got to hope that this whole thing sorts out. Maybe he plays a different position. Maybe he doesn't end up playing hooker. Who knows? Who knows? Ricky Stewart knows. That's who, because that's the man who's making these decisions, and I trust him. Tamale, and speaking of the devil, Owen Paddy jersey presentations were uploaded onto the Canberra Raiders YouTube. It was just great viewing, like just seeing the families, how emotional they got, how proud of their sons they were, how grateful of the organisation they were for giving the young guys a chance. It was really great viewing, and I am really, really proud to be a fan of this team that gives these young guys a go, gives these young guys a crack, and it means so much to them and their families. And the Raiders uploading that on YouTube really was just great viewing, and it was really emotional. It was just a good watch. I strongly recommend it if you haven't seen it already. It's on the YouTube, not mine, the Canberra Raiders one. It's easy to find. But yeah, that's that. I don't know why this is still on the screen. I apologise. But yeah, no, it was great viewing. I definitely recommend the watch if you haven't seen it already. But yeah, look, let's move straight on, shall we? So let's clear things up again. Now, I said the last episode this would be the last time I clear things up. It won't be. Let's be honest with yourself and myself. Let's be honest here. Schedule update. Last episode I said I wanted to aim for Monday, Tuesday, Friday. It's probably a bit much. Let's be honest here, it probably is. I've decided, and if you've looked at my Twitter bio, you've looked at my Instagram bio, you already know. And this ominous tweet was in reference to that. And I do apologise if anyone was worried about it. Don't be. It just says, no new episode today. We'll explain further tomorrow. Just know it's nothing serious. Stay tuned for the Raiders, or stay tuned for the NRL Round 1 review show, which is this. It's just that. That's it. It's gone from Monday, Tuesday, Friday to Tuesday, Friday. Sort of slimmed down my workload a little bit, especially with uni tossing up and all that sort of stuff. Really wanted to make sure that this was viable and it made sense. And JB from the Green Machine podcast also said the same thing. You know, it might end up being a little bit much for you, and I agree, it probably will be. So with that, talking to my mum as well, she said the same thing. So I've decided that I'll take that down. But there will be content throughout the week, whether it be milkman tips, whether it be random stuff that comes across my desk, in air quotes, desk. So we'll see what happens. But it'll be Tuesday and Friday for now. Go into next semester, which again, I'll give you plenty of warning. It will be a Tuesday and a Thursday instead of Tuesday and Friday. It's just all to do with uni commitments and stuff like that. Episodes, ideally, like I said last episode, should be out between 3 and 4:30. Today's an anomaly. Hopefully it's a one-off. It probably won't be, but it'll be hopefully from here on out. Starting next week, episodes will come out between 3 and 4:30 on Tuesdays and Fridays. On Friday, hopefully, it'll be more on the 3 side, just so the footy's on, and it's plenty of time to watch these. This one will probably be a bit of a shorter one today, just because of how late I'm doing this. I just want to sort of get out of it as quickly as I can, because there is other people in this house. I want to be mindful, and that's why I'm talking so quiet. It's not normally going to be like this, I promise. Again, like I said before, it is my Apple Podcast and Spotify debut show. Barring any mishaps or misunderstandings or whatever the case may be, this is it. I'm very excited, to be honest. I'm very happy, but it's very difficult, as you could imagine, to get this done. And I don't think you can see that bottom bit, but it's there. You can see it. If you're watching on YouTube, of course, you can see that, but it's going to take some getting used to, using inclusive language that sort of makes sense to the viewer and the listener. So I got to make sure that I get that sorted. Obviously, early days, still, even in the viewing capacity, still early days. Let's head around the NRL. I got it right. For the first time, I got it right. I said NRL, not NHL. I can't believe it. First things first, I want to say this. I think it was the first episode I said Brisbane would win the premiership. I changed my mind. Manly will win the premiership this year. And I do not regret it. Both teams, in all fairness, both teams and the Storms got very impressive wins. And honestly, it did not take much for the Manly Seagulls to sway my decision. I loved what I saw from Manly. They just had some go about them. They just, I don't know, like not as much as the Storms did. The Storms had some serious go about them. Pappenhausen had one very selfish play where he could have given it off to Munster on his left side, I think it was. He didn't. He got tackled, and I think it ended up being a changeover. Don't test me on that. But he was wide open. Munster was wide open for a try. Like, he could have got his eyes shut. So hopefully he learns from that, because that I even said, oh, that is such a selfish thing to do. Why would you do that, Pappenhausen? I get your first game back and you really want to put on a show, but that is so weak. Like, why? Why? What have you got to gain from that? Like, just going by yourself and being selfish like that. Like, that is low. But, hey, he makes big bucks and I'm sitting here doing a podcast. Good on you, Pappenhausen. You know, yeah, fair enough. Whatever. But Manly, like, I was watching NRL tonight, the other night, or it might have been NRL 360 yesterday or the day before, I can't remember. And they were like, oh, Manly had the most impressive win over the weekend. It was Manly. It was very good watching. I was very, very happy with it. I thought Manly played very well. As a very, very part-time Manly fan, I loved it. I thought they played very well. Obviously, the 42-12 win over the Cowboys, very entertaining game. But let's be honest, 56-18 Storms Eels was absolutely unreal to watch. Obviously, the Broncos 50-14 over the Roosters as well. We were first for a while. Just think about that. Now we're fourth. I mean, we'll get into the ladder properly in a second, but anyway, I've used my once-a-year switch this early. Obviously, I always give myself one switch a year. No matter what sport, I'll say, before the season starts, I'll go, okay, Brisbane will win. Normally, it takes like halfway through the year, and I'll go, maybe give me Manly. It's taken a week. And Manly's going to win the competition, and they're going to do it against Penrith. Olakau'atu to have the game of his life. Pressure makes diamonds. Olakau'atu is a diamond. I wish he was a Canberra Raider. So bad. But anyway, let's get into the scores from round one. So obviously Raiders beating the Wars 30-8. We talked about that last week on the Tuesday episode. If you want to go check that out, I do not recommend it. Panthers beat the Sharks 28-22. Very entertaining game. Very good. Broncos beat the Roosters 50-14. I missed it. But the oldest halves pairing ever, Ben Hunt, Adam Reynolds, apparently was unreal watching. So I definitely have to watch the highlights. I said on Friday I'd watch the game. Didn't. Got busy. I just had other stuff. Chad Townsend sucked, apparently, as well. But again, I'll watch the highlights, the KO mini thing or whatever it's called. I'll watch that and have a look for myself. Maybe even the full game. Maybe tomorrow. Why not? Said that on Friday and it didn't happen. But we'll see what happens. Knights beat the Tigers 8-10. And we'll get into a little mishap that happened in that game. I'm very excited to talk about this. I find it hilarious, and you probably know what I'm talking about. Rabbitohs beat the Dolphins 16-14. Wayne Bennett gets the last laugh. Obviously, I'm pretty sure they play again. You'd think they play again. Yes, they do, round 17, because it was all that was talked about when they moved the game. Round 17, I think. They'll play again up in Redcliffe. Dragons lost to the Dogs 20-28. I get into that game a bit later when we talk about Milkman tips. And then the Seagulls beat the Cowboys, like we said, 42-12. And like I said, Storms 56, Para 18. Obviously, Titans got the bye. Bad luck. What a weekend of rugby league. It was absolutely phenomenal. I can't wait for this weekend. It is just the greatest game on earth, and I'm very much enjoying being able to talk about it and being able to have an account and Instagram and Twitter and stuff to be able to, flick out my thoughts, if any, especially on Twitter. They'll be very active on there. Starting this weekend, just tweeting away, thinking of or tweeting what I'm thinking what I'm tweeting, all that sort of stuff. This weekend, I cannot wait. Let's look at the ladder now. Let me have a little bit of water. Excuse me. Boyd's first ever sip of water on the Milkman podcast. Clip it. No. But yeah, now I know you shouldn't really take the ladder seriously until at least round 4. And this may be irrational, but don't look now. The Canberra Raiders are sitting at 4th. We're sitting at 4th. But let's get into the ladder. So obviously, top of the ladder with a big 56 points. The Storms, Broncos on 2nd. 3rd is Manly. 4th, your Canberra Raiders. 5th, the Bulldogs. 6th, Penrith. 7th, Newcastle. 8th, Bunnies. And then that rounds out the top 8. And then we get into the bottom 9. We got the Titans, Dolphins, Tigers in 11th. I'm sure if they ended up being 11th, if the Tigers end the season at 11th, I don't think any Tigers fan would be mad at that. I think they'd all love that. And honestly, I would too. I really want Benji Marshall to do well as a coach. Now that they've got Jerome Luai, but they had some fight about it. Like, they fought back again. Like, everything the Knights threw at them, they had an answer for it. It was a very, very good watch. And even though they lost, and I was pulling for them, they played really well. And I'm sure if you ask any Tigers fan, they'd be happy with that effort from their Tigs. The Sharks at 12th, Dragons 13th, the Wars at 14th, 15th Cowboys, 16th and 17th. I'm really enjoying seeing these two teams down here. I really don't like them. 16th Roosters, 17th. The Parramatta Eels. How good. I'm loving it. How good. Right. Earlier, I referenced a debacle that happened during the Knights and Tigers game. Let's talk about it. So, listen to this commentary from Dan Ganane. Let me know what you think, he says in the comments.
Marshall gets there. Newcastle on the verge of mucking it up again, but Marshall finds his way to the line.
It did sound like he said the F word, but Dan Ganane claims he said mucking. I'll play it one more time. Let me know what you think.
Marshall gets there. Newcastle on the verge of mucking it up again, but Marshall finds his way to the line.
I mean, it really is clear. He definitely sounds like he says the F word, but he claims he didn't.
Because I can acknowledge that does sound
make sure
like
he doesn't muck it up.
No, and I think it's either a whistle or, because I didn't say it, but it's a whistle, or Fox have these graphics that they make sounds. You know, when a team scores, like if it's a Parramatta today, there'll be an electricity sound, electric eels. I don't know what the night sound is, or that might be the referee's whistle.
Might be the referee's whistle, or it could be the Knights sound that Fox plays. I don't know, but let's play it one more time. Let's really listen here.
Marshall gets there. Newcastle on the verge of mucking it up again, but
It sounds like he says the F word. It really, let's be honest, it sounds like he's saying, again, I'm trying to keep this show as PG as possible, so I'm not going to say it, but he does sound like he says a word that rhymes with mucking, but it starts with F. So, I mean, again, you be the judge. You let me know what you think in the comments. I've got no reason not to believe Dan Ganane. I believe he does say mucking, but it definitely, I don't know if the whistle's just played at the right time or the Knights ching, ching, ching thing is played at the right time and it just coincides, so it makes it sound like he says a word that he didn't say when he really said mucking. I don't know. That's above my pay grade. I don't work at Fox. The day after, I think that was the Sunday game, I'm pretty sure, and I'm pretty sure it was on Sunday. And I was watching NRL. I was like gearing up. I was watching NRL tonight, and I was like, I wonder if Dan Ganane is going to be on NRL 360 tonight. And I wonder if he's going to apologise, no. And I was like, what? Then, yes, last night, like when I was in bed, I saw that clip and I was like, okay. And credit to the NRL or Fox for the clip of that. Obviously, you only heard it. I don't know if I'll get in trouble for that. I hope not. But if I do, I'll figure it out. But anyway, let's get straight back into this. And let's move to the Milkman Tips review. So Milkman Tips is a thing I started on Saturday. I recorded it on the Friday before I went out that night. If it looks like I look a bit fresh, I wasn't that day. I wasn't on Saturday. I posted that pretty early in the morning. Then I went back to bed, and yeah, it was rough. I felt rough. Footy definitely helped. I was laying down there watching it. It helped, but yeah. But I posted it on the Saturday, and I went 2 for 3. I didn't do too badly for the 3 games I did tip. The Dragons lost to the Dogs. I tipped the Dragons. I thought Cookie and Gutho were just going to have a brilliant game and take them home. They didn't. Manly won comfortably against the Cowboys. Storms absolutely steamrolled Parramatta. And the new episode of it is out tomorrow, so keep a close eye out on socials. I'm going to try and share it around as much as I can on all socials, but it will definitely be on Instagram. Might be here on the shorts thing, and it might be on Twitter as just like a written out thing. I don't know, because Twitter feels a lot more formal, and Instagram, I posted it and went all right. So that is how that is going to go from now on every Wednesday. So Tuesday and Friday, we've got the actual podcast thing. Hopefully one of these days I'll tick over an hour, but it looks like it's just going to be a half an hour thing each and every time, which is that's the minimum I wanted when I started this. So this could even tick over to 40 because I've still got another thing I need to talk about as well. And then Wednesdays, we will do the McMahon tips. And then on Twitter, I'll be very active in tweeting everything. So make sure you're following me at Milkman Podcast, Twitter and Instagram. Stay updated with all things Canberra Raiders. So let's go back around the NRL, because the thing that's on everyone's lips at the moment, Dylan Brown to join Knights on a 10-year, $13 million deal. So just for the maths, right? I should have done this before, but I want to give my just reaction to this because it is unbelievable. So 13 million divided by 10. Wow. So that's simple maths. I don't know why I needed a calculator for that. He's making $1.3 million a year for the next 10 years. Starting next year, he will be a Newcastle Knight. And to be honest, I cannot blame him for leaving. I feel like I'd be a Knights fan for 10 million or $13 million a year for the next 10 years. I'd put the podcast on hold. See you in 10 years. $13 million. That's $1.3 million a year. I'm taking that, and I'm sure anyone watching this would as well. I'm easily bought. I don't care. I'll admit it now. I'm easily bought. Eels rock bottom of the decision, allegedly. And I've got a quote here from the Eels General Manager of Football, Mark O'Neill. He says, and I quote, "Dylan is a class player. We understand his decision to take up the offer, and no one could begrudge him for accepting this opportunity for him and his family. Absolutely. The Eels GM of football, Mark O'Neill, has a good head on his shoulders. He understands that's a lot of money." And I just don't know. Like, that is a lot. And I do think it's an overpay. I really do. But anyone's taking that money, and at the end of the day, it's the Knights' fault. Like, if this goes wrong, it's all on the Knights. What are they going to do? Not give him his money? That's illegal. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if this is how it went down. You know, he got the offer from the Knights, and then he's gone to the Eels and said, "Look, I don't want to go. I love it here. I want to be a one club man. Can you match it?" And then they're just sitting there and they go, "Nah. See you, mate. Best of luck in your future endeavours." Like, would you be surprised if that's how that went down? I wouldn't. But it's just mad. Dylan Brown is $1 million a year player now. Dylan Brown. He's up there with Daly Cherry Evans. Oof. Does feel like a panic move on Newcastle's part, though. You know, it feels like they're just desperate to win a comp. Maybe instead of a panic move, I can put it down to a desperation move where they just want to win a comp as quickly as possible, and they think Dylan Brown is the answer. And the halves pairing of Brown and Ponga will be good. I think it'll be very good, and they'll make them both better players respectively. But I don't think it'll make Dylan Brown especially worth $1 million a year. And I'm happy to be proven wrong. Obviously, it isn't my team. I'm not, I'm not like, oh, we overpaid for him. I'm not a Knights fan at the end of the day. But what I am is an NRL fan, and I can't help but feel like it just feels wrong. Dylan Brown being up there with the likes of Daly Cherry Evans, and Braithen Astor even said on NRL 360 last night when this news broke that Manly have been paid DCE a 10-year contract, and they gave DCE a 10-year contract, and it's worked out great for them, but they still haven't won the comp. And that's what I feel like's going on with the Knights. Like, I don't think they'll win the comp with this deal. I think it'll just take from the team rather than give anything to it. I feel like it's a definite overpay, especially with the salary cap in place and all that sort of stuff. It just doesn't feel like the right move. You could have bought two players for that, two very decent players, two Raiders probably. That tends to be the case. Look at Adam Elliott. He left us for the Knights, and I wouldn't be surprised if they would have probably ended up poaching a couple of Raiders for that amount of money for two players. You probably could have even bought three fairly decent players for that and really bolstered up your team, but they opted for Dylan Brown. And again, they're paid the big bucks. I'm just sitting here and talking about rugby league, the greatest sport on earth, and they're paying Dylan Brown $13 million over the next 10 years. So, I don't know, it makes you think. But at the end of the day, they're making the big bucks. I'm not. Dylan Brown especially, congratulations to him and his family. Holy smokes. Now, in his current deal with the Eels, apparently, according to NRL 360 last night, he has an out. He had an out in every second year of his contract. That's what they said. I don't know if that's true or not. I probably should have looked it up and done my due diligence. But if a journalist on NRL 360 saying that, I think it's pretty safe to assume it's probably true. But at the end of the day, when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. And I've just made an ass out of you and me. So, is it true? I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised, because Parramatta is not known for doing well in contracts. But I think it's definitely an overpay. I think the Eels are right in just letting him walk. I think that the Knights will not win a comp with this deal. I think that, however, both Dylan Brown and Kalen Ponga will both be better players for this deal going through, and there'll be a great halves pairing. I feel like they'll be outstanding. I think they'll be one of the best halves pairing in the NRL. But who else can they bring in without going over the salary cap? I don't know what Callum Ponga's deal looks like, and I'm assuming it's a big one because didn't he sign one last year when everyone thought he was going to the Dolphins? Then he stayed in Newcastle. I think that was like a 6-year deal as well. So both their star players now are locked in for a while, and I wouldn't be surprised. And the rumours going around is that Callum Ponga wants to go back to New Zealand and play for the All Blacks. I don't know about that. He shot it down in an interview with Fletcher 90, I think it was. He shut it down pretty quick. But still, I can't see him anywhere else but Newcastle. But if he's ordering a decent amount of money, and this deal makes Dylan Brown the most expensive player in the NRL, which is probably going to change after this offseason, it's very, very tough to see them winning the comp with Dylan Brown and Callum Ponga and nothing else. I don't know. But in retrospect, would players take less money to go to Newcastle because it's one of those places where people really want to be? The fans are good. It's a nice city. It's a desirable place to be. But would they take that less money because they pay Dylan Brown and Callum Ponga potentially altogether maybe close to $20 million each? Maybe it'd be close, like it'd have to be. Maybe even overs. I don't know. I really don't know Callum Ponga's contract. I'm actually going to try and find it now. Just to be sure, Callum Ponga contract, first thing that comes up, 5 years until the end of 2027. Well, there you go. He's only got 2 years left on his contract, and he's worth $1.3 million a year as well. So 2020. So over the next 3 years, he's paid $1.3 million, and he'll probably stick around past that, you'd assume, unless he does go and play rugby union. Yuck. But I think that is it for today's episode. Join me on Friday when I talk about the Raiders game coming up on Saturday night against the Brisbane Broncos, which I'm very much looking forward to. Should be a good game. Hoping for a win at home opener. Hoping for a win. Let's keep our fingers crossed for the boys. We'll talk about the Jersey Flag game against the Silk Tails, I believe, is where we're going. Who we're playing, the Silk Tails. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about much, much more happenings throughout the week. Stay tuned for tomorrow on my socials at Milkman Podcast. Make sure you're following to stay updated with all things Canberra Raiders. The Milkman Tips episode, where I do the full round for once, is coming out tomorrow, so keep an eye on that. I think that's it. I think we are done here. So thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please press like, please subscribe. Like I said, follow me at Milkman Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. Tons happening there over the next couple of weeks, especially. Posting news and all sorts. But yeah, that's it from me. Hopefully you enjoyed. And as always, up the milk.